So, Chris, something's going on over at BioWare. Why don't you just kind of let us know and let our listeners know what's shaking up over there, man?
Sure. Yeah. So Homecoming. We talk a lot about Spider-Man Homecoming, and we're getting a little bit of a homecoming ourselves. So it was announced this week that Casey Hudson was coming back to be the head, the president there of BioWare. Now, if you don't know a lot about Casey Hudson, you will definitely know the games that he was involved with. He was pretty much influential in Knights of the Old Republic for BioWare. He was very influential in Jade Empire, which we actually talked about on this show not too long ago. And then of course, the thing that he is probably maybe most widely known for is birthing the Mass Effect series. So I didn't write down any quotes or anything, but basically what happened was Aaron Flynn is right now the head of BioWare. The general manager is his actual title, and he is stepping aside. Everything seems to be on the up and up. It doesn't look like he's being forced out. Everything that he has said has been he almost even kind of hinted at the fact that he was looking to leave anyways, and it was just a perfect time to make that move. On Casey's part, Casey come back and said that he needed to get some time away. He stepped away from BioWare for family reasons initially, and he actually went and worked at Microsoft for a little while, working on the HoloLens project. But his quote, he said, coming back, it's like coming home. He considers BioWare home, and I mean, BioWare would not be what they are without Casey Hudson in the mix. So just on the high level, we're going to talk about kind of what this means for the future and what comes next. But just on the high level, Aaron Flynn is out. Casey Hudson is back over, general manager, taking over there for BioWare, back to where he belongs. And so going forward, this the BioWare ship in Edmonton is going to be led and piloted by Casey Hudson. So that's where we are. That's the news.
Sure. Now the real question about this, because as you mentioned, he was the project director on Mass Effect, right? And so it makes you wonder. He comes back. This is probably pure coincidence, because they've probably been working this deal for a while, I'm assuming.
Sure.
And so he comes back right when his baby, Mass Effect, is pretty much getting, beat up so bad right now because of Mass Effect Andromeda. The rumors that all the DLC got canceled, EA coming out saying we're putting Mass Effect on hold, we're not going to touch it for a while. Do you think he feels like BioWare brought shame onto his great series? And so he's coming back. He's like, we're going to fix it. We're going to start fresh, and we're going to kick all that Andromeda stuff out of there.
I would actually go the opposite way. And first off, you said that this has probably been in the works for a while.
Yeah.
I do not for 1 minute believe that this conversation happened until after Andromeda launched.
Right.
And so I don't think this is a reflection on Aaron Flynn at all, because he was the general manager. He was not the project lead or the director of Mass Effect. So when we're saying this of Andromeda, when we're saying this is no slight at all to Flynn. But I think what happened is, I think that Mass Effect Andromeda failed to live up to any expectation, hype, sales, engagement that the company had hoped that it was going to. And to be honest, that was the bread and butter, right? If you look at BioWare's library, let's think about it for a company like, let's even say Nintendo, right? Nintendo, they make Mario, and Mario's going to sell, and Zelda's going to sell, so that they can go make things like Pikmin, and things like Splatoon
right,
that are kind of risks, right? And so BioWare's like, we got Mass Effect. Mass Effect is going to be the cash cow. We're going to be able to ride that anytime we need it. And then while we're doing that, and of course they have Dragon Age 2. So like, hey,
about to mention Dragon Age as well.
Yeah, so we're going to rotate Dragon Age, we'll rotate Mass Effect, and then we can go do things like Anthem. And then we can go do things like these new games, because these games are going to always make us money. They're going to print money. And Mass Effect did not do that. Andromeda did not do that for them. So I think instantly, that they were like, okay, we've got to circle the wagons and figure out how we get this thing back on track. And so I actually think it was them reaching out to Casey and being like, look, this is your baby. You know, you're gone now. It didn't turn out really well. We'd like you to come and make sure that we're back on track. So that's kind of how, in my mind, it would have played out.
Okay. Well, now with him coming back now, we know they're in the middle of Anthem, right? I mean, it's not, I'm trying to remember, when does that come out? Is that 2018?
2018. It's supposed to be next year, yes.
Right. And so he's coming in the middle of this project. So he won't even be able to get his feet wet on something new until, after that releases.
Yeah.
So,
well, I mean, now they did say that he was actually there for the inception of Anthem. Now it's probably taken some obvious turns since he's been gone,
right.
But like Anthem is something that he's probably at least familiar with in general. But yeah, I mean, you're going to see Anthem next year, and you're going to see Dragon Age first. Those two games are going to be first, unless BioWare decides to ramp up another team. You're not going to see another game past those two games. So hypothetically, you could probably see, if you have Anthem next year, you could maybe see Dragon Age the following year, so 2019. But even if Casey started a project now, you probably wouldn't see that till 2021.
I was thinking 2021, 2022, something like that. Yeah. It's going to be a while, because Mass Effect are, as the name says, they're massive. I mean, they're massive, absolutely massive games. And the amount of writing, the amount of voice work. Now, I guess Dragon Age is kind of the same, because Dragon Age is kind of like the medieval, magical version of Mass Effect.
But it's a separate team, though.
Right.
It's a separate team. So,
but I think they've learned their lesson, because the team that worked on Mass Effect Andromeda, it was like a B team. This was like their first major game. And I think they've learned their lesson not to do that. You let the team make a new entry into a series and see how it goes. Right.
You don't give them the prized cow. No.
Right. I think they were hoping that they could prove themselves and really knock it out of the park, but it just it just didn't happen.
Sure.
So with this, how do you think BioWare is going to change? I mean, because I'm assuming it's going to go about the way it did before, because I'm wondering, did Aaron Flynn make some kind of decisions that the rest of BioWare didn't agree with? Did he feel like he was getting pressure from EA? I'm just kind of trying to figure out why he would have left. He's been there 17 years. I know he said he wanted to spend more time with his family, but we know that Casey Hudson said the same thing. But as you mentioned, then he went to Microsoft, worked on HoloLens.
Yeah.
So now that he had that time to kind of cool off, try something new, he's like, okay, I'm ready to hop back into BioWare, because he's been thinking of great ideas. This entire time he's been working on HoloLens. He's like, man, I really wish I could be working on Mass Effect right now. So him coming back. Now, I know he's not going to be making the games. I mean, he's going to be the general manager. So his position now is totally different, because he was project director before, which is totally different from general manager. So he's going to be dealing more with the day-to-day, minutia of the business itself, not the games. Although he will be there for overseeing things.
Yeah. I mean, so this goes one of two ways. And what you said is exactly right. And that may be my biggest concern, for it right now. What you get with Casey in a GM role is that he's going to have a little bit of his fingerprint in everything. But that also means that he's not going to have his whole fingerprint on any one thing, which could actually end up being less than what we would hope for. But I actually do think that at some point, I think Casey will wear dual hats, and I think he'll be given his own project. So while he's GM, I do think he will direct a project in the coming future. So
hopefully this will go the Phil Spencer route, right? Because Phil Spencer was the developer. He helped make games. That's what he did.
That's right.
And then he became, the head of all of Xbox. And he kind of righted the ship, was steering it where it needed to go to get us where we are today. And we've seen some great changes, great leaps and bounds, which is awesome. So hopefully Casey Hudson can do the same thing.
Yeah. So real quick before we wrap up here, I would just want to throw the question out here. What do you think comes next? If we have Anthem and we have and then we have Dragon Age after that, what because he's not really involved in either one of those. He's coming in at the home stretch for Anthem. Dragon Age has already been in development. You know that it has. So the next project after that is really going to be the one that he has his hands on. So what do you think it's going to be? Do you think they're going to go back to they've already said that they're going to give Mass Effect a break. So what does he do?
Honestly, I'm thinking they're going to lean on Star Wars because they have what is it? It's called the Old Republic, right? The online.
Yeah, the Old Republic.
So
right now.
they've got that going, but people wanting Knights of the Old Republic, like that kind of single player experience back again. And now that EA has all these different companies working on Star Wars games, BioWare, as far as I know, BioWare's not working on a specific outside of Old Republic. They're not working on any other Star Wars games, right?
Not right now.
So I have a feeling. I think you're right. I think they're going to go Anthem. Then they're going to go Dragon Age, and then I think they'll go Star Wars, and then maybe Mass Effect. Because you're right. They're going to give Mass Effect some breathing room because they want people to completely forget Andromeda existed. That's not going to happen.
That's true.
But you need the space. So when they come back, they'll be like, wow, I forgot how good Mass Effect was. That's what they want. But to get that, they need space.
Yeah,
and people have been demanding a Star Wars game for a while, so I really honestly think Star Wars is going to be their next big project.
Yeah, I mean, I think Casey Hudson, while Mass Effect is probably the thing he's probably most known for, just because that series just exploded the way that it did. He became a household name in our industry by launching Knights of the Old Republic. It would be so proper to bring him back home to the studio that he loves. Now the studio owned by EA that also has the license to do just the Star Wars games. Have him come back and have him launch a Star Wars game. I do not think it's going to be KOTOR 3. I do not even think it'll be a Knights of the Old Republic game. I think they will switch it up completely. But I do think it will be open world, not open world, but just giant world, Mass Effect, character driven action RPG. And I absolutely think that will be the next thing that we see. And dude, seriously, if you give me Mass Effect 3, but in a Star Wars universe, I mean, you give me covering and shooting blaster rifles, getting up next to somebody and swiping them with my Omni lightsaber, and let me drive the Millennium Falcon around, bro. I will be there day one regardless. I can't wait.
I do wonder if they're going to stick with the stop, attack kind of gameplay.
They can't.
I know that I know we don't think they should, but isn't that how Old Republic? Because it's been a long time since I played Old Republic. I played it a while ago. It's been a few years, but it's that same Knights of the Old Republic gameplay. Yeah. And I mean, they've already got things like Battlefront and other action, Star Wars games. Maybe they need something like that to kind of, show they're different, right?
Yeah.
But I don't know.
If you guys are listening to this live, I'm glad you are, because I'm going to edit that part out of the actual printed copy, because that is a bad idea.
Right. Well, I'm just saying they need something unique, right?
Yeah, I mean, I hear what you're saying, and I agree. But I just think that they have evolved past that.
Sure.
Like I get what you're saying, but Jade, when Jade Empire came out, that was not that. They already moved away from it with Jade, and they haven't looked back. So after Jade, then you get Mass Effect, and then you get Dragon Age, and all of those games have moved away from that stop, select things, and then go do it. I just think, and I think that speaks to a very hardcore RPG type audience, and what you're trying to reach with Star Wars is a vast a vast audience. And they learned that with Mass Effect 1. Mass Effect 1 was not as well received as Mass Effect 2 because they fixed a lot of that combat. They made it more fluid and they made it more action focused. I would actually say that and this is the reason they won't use the KOTOR name, because I do think that they will take a more of an action friendly approach. But you're missing what BioWare is about. BioWare games are about character driven, conversation trees. Like that is what makes this game unique, not the fact that your combat. You don't even have to have combat to make the games great. It's all about the dialogue and the character choices and stuff. So we'll see. I mean, look, I'll play anything that they make, but I absolutely want it to be faster paced, action oriented for sure.
Okay. So guys, what do you think? Now that Casey Hudson is back, where do you want to see BioWare go? What properties do you want to see them touch? Do you want them to hop back into Mass Effect or Star Wars, Dragon Age? What do you guys think? If you're in the Mixer chat right now, you can let us know live on mixer.com/thexboxdive. You can also comment on our videos on our YouTube channel. Also, make sure to subscribe. Or, finally, you can also hit us up on our Facebook community group, because that's where we have the most interaction with everybody, is over there on Facebook. So, find us there.